This morning in the first session, we have a bunch of great speakers, and someone kindly agreed to be the guinea pig and go first. And he's traveled all the way from Australia to be with us today. He left HBS. He founded Influence, which is a leadership development consulting company. He was teaching at the University of Chicago's Booth School of Management, where he was ranked number 1 out of 178 professors on the faculty, which is pretty impressive. He's going to kill me for setting the bar so high. But his wife is also a fellow alum, so we'd like to do a shout out to her. She drew the short straw and had to stay home with their kids in Australia, so hi to Mariah Reeder. So after Booth, Mike moved to Australia. He's been on the faculty at both the University of Sydney and also the Grad School of Management in Australia. And he's also a world-ranked croquet player. And he has some amazing slides to show us all, and I'm so glad he was willing to make the trip this far to come and see us. Please welcome from Section A, Mike Jenner.
So I remember shortly after arriving in Boston 20 years ago hearing the term diversity admit and wondering what on earth someone like that looked like. And so I wandered around early in my HBS career trying to find that poor, underprivileged species. Someone whose only claim to fame to being at business school was because they were somehow different and would be different than the rest of us and would provide some alternative perspective than the majority opinion that we held. And I'm reminded of that this morning because as I look at the speakers that follow me, I realize that it's 20 years on and I'm still the bloody diversity admit. So I play professional croquet. My major achievement over the last 20 years has been competing nationally and internationally at the sport of croquet. And I'm actually pretty good at it. I have represented the US and Australia at World Championships. I've won national championships in 2 different countries. I've won over 25 major tournaments. I have a world high ranking of 27. Yes, there are more than 28 people that play croquet in the world. And the grand sum of my lifetime earnings from croquet, the booty, if you will, that I have earned across over a decade of competing competitively at croquet amounts to, and this is a top secret figure, you must not reveal this to anyone outside the room, almost $2,000. Thank you. I did very bad hair. I did actually eventually manage to parlay an ability to hit colored balls quite precisely into something moderately useful when in 2007 the Australian government awarded me a Distinguished Talent Visa for Sport. And as of last month, the gang and I are actually fully leaded Australian citizens. They have informed me that I am supposed to infuse this talk with terms like struth, mate, and cobber. So forewarned is forearmed. So I came here and Christina asked me to come because she said, you know, people don't necessarily understand croquet. So you need to spend a couple of hours, 2 hours, 3 hours. You know, really, you don't have to worry about the other speakers. You just keep going. Keep going until the room is cleared. About the intricacies, the strategy, the tactics that makes up the game of croquet. So settle in. It'll be a bumpy ride. But seriously, Harvard Business School was a life-changing experience for me. For those of you who I didn't interact with that much when we were here, I'll give you a little tiny bit of my background. I grew up from a blue-collar family in the suburbs of London. My mum died when I was 6. My dad died shortly after I graduated undergrad. I'm the first person in my extended family to go to college. And when Harvard made the admissions mistake to let me in, my goal at that time was, well, you know what? If I can find some corporate gig where I can find a way in and keep my head down and see if I can find a way to fit in, you know, my sister back home, she'll be really proud of me. That was my goal coming to business school. And here's what I got. Everyone in this room is exceptional. I got that everyone in this room was going to succeed. Success is what we do. That's who we are. So the trick isn't to work to be successful. You're going to do that anyway. The trick is to find the right thing to be successful at. And so a distinction I want to make this morning is the distinction between being successful and being inspiring. Now, when I'm not playing croquet and earning massive sums of money doing that, I fund my habit by run a leadership development consulting practice. And the major part of our work is looking at what makes one person influential where another person is less so. And the work that I do is working with executives around, so independent of the role they have within the organization, how can they be maximally influential with the stakeholders that they need to work with? And one of the things that I got from that is, while there are undoubtedly a number of factors that go into having someone be influential, one of the most undervalued is authenticity. And what I would like to, thank you, I like the participation. Participation is good. Keep it up. And so what I would like to do just for a moment this morning is I just want to ask you to do me a favor. I want you to think for a moment, I want you to bring to mind the most inspiring person that you've ever encountered. Yes, this is the participation part of the session. All right? So now, I don't want you to think of Joan of Arc. I don't want you to think of someone that you don't have a relationship with, but someone that you either had or have an interaction with that is the most inspiring person that you've ever met. Okay? So now what I want you to do, when you've got someone in mind, I want you to nod at me, which is also the audience participation part of the session. So I'm looking for nods around the room, all right? So I want you to have in mind someone specific, the most inspiring person that you've ever met, all right? And now what I want to do is I want to ask 3 questions, because authenticity is a key element of being influential. But you've got no hope of being inspiring if you're not authentic. All right? So I want to ask 3 questions around being inspiring, or 3 questions I want to ask. So the first question I want to ask is, who are you? It's a bit existential, so work with me here. So who are you really? Is the first question. The second question is, are you really who you say you are? And the third question is, are you who you're supposed to be? Okay? So who are you? Second question is around congruence. Are you who you say you are? And are you who you're supposed to be? And now I want you to think of your most inspiring person. And if in your estimation you would answer yes to those 3 questions, I want you to put your hand up for your inspiring person. If you're inspiring, if you would say yes for your inspiring person, okay, this is the point where everyone in the room is supposed to put their hand up, okay? You gotta hate it when these things don't work out well. All right? So for a minute, we'll have an out-of-body experience, and we'll assume that everyone put their hand up at that point in time, okay? Because the message is that for you to be inspiring, you have to be authentic. Now, to be influential, you want to be authentic, but to be inspiring, You have to be authentic. Now, here's the second thing that I got at business school. The second thing I got, I forgot, I was supposed to put my corporate logo up at some point in time. Because Mariah said to me, you put your corporate logo up and you never know, someone actually might engage you for some business. And I'm like, you have no idea what my other slides are. None of these people here are going to engage me for corporate business. But anyway, you know, I've learned over 20 years of marriage that if you do what she says, then life is much, much smoother and works much more effectively. So anyway, so here's the second thing. Here's the second thing that I got at business school. I arrived at 3 minutes already. I'm 7 minutes already. Wow. Time flies. Here's the second thing I got at business school, was that I arrived without a professional network, without business role models, without a corporate, and initially I thought that was a disadvantage. But here's what I got fairly quickly, is in many ways it was an advantage. Because if I ended up managing a McDonald's, for my sister back home, I'm a huge success. Externally imposed expectations. Societal pressure is insidious. Societal pressure, its whole purpose is to force you to be something that's comfortable for them, not comfortable for you. It prioritizes them over you. And separate from the totally trivial subject of your long-term happiness, separate from that, it directly impacts your ability to influence others and to inspire others. Directly impacts that. I have to check my notes now. What else do I need to say to figure out what I can cut out in order to meet my time frame? All right. So 2 years ago, I should probably cut this out, but there are a number of people that came specifically for this, so I shouldn't. 2 years ago, I went through a midlife crisis. I forget if it was my fourth or my fifth. Mariah will be able to tell you which one it actually was. And I decided that I wanted to do some modeling. So I did. Now I get that getting your junk out in public may not be your idea of being authentic. I get that. But here's what I want you to get. It's 20 years on. Whatever dues you felt you had to pay to your family, to your friends, to your classmates, to your network, to yourself, whatever dues, you've paid them. And you've been successful. So here's my challenge for you. My challenge for you is to address now the issue of who are you really? And who do you want to be really? So that you can be the most influential person that you can be, and you can inspire others. Because here's the final piece. If the HBS class of 93 can't live their own lives, then who the hell on this planet can? Who the hell on this planet can? So in closing, yes, this is what I do. I talk to people about how they can be the best themselves. And my vision for everyone in this room is that sometime down the road, in a room probably something like this, talking to people something like this, maybe even at some point in time Harvard MBAs, I'm going to be talking about how you get to be inspiring. How you get to be influential, how you get to be inspiring, and how you get to be authentic. And I'm going to ask the question on that day, in that room at that time, who's the most inspiring person that you've ever met? To those people. And my vision for each and every person in this room, my vision is that on that day, in that room, at that time, the person that they think of is you.
That was a great talk. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
And thank you also for the wonderful shoes.